Hey, everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be taking a look at the Bhagavad Gita. That's right,
Yeah.
the Bhagavad Gita, sometimes called, India's Book of Answers.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at it through the lens of a really, really fascinating TEDx talk by Rupa Pai.
Yes.
And she kind of helps us to see that it's not just for, Hindus or people from India. It's really got something for everyone.
Absolutely. And that's one of the most intriguing things about this deep dive is that we often think of the Gita as, a Hindu text. And
Right.
we're going to see that that's not quite the case.
Yeah, that's one of the first things that Rupa Pai points out. She says that it predates
Yes.
organized religion by centuries.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that? How does that change our approach to the Gita?
I think it really opens it up. When we understand that it's coming from a place that is even before these organized religions, it allows us to see it as a more universal text. And so it becomes a source of wisdom that anyone can tap into.
That's a great point. And so, for anyone who might not be familiar with the Gita, where does it fit in sort of in the scheme of Indian, epics like the Mahabharata?
Oh, gosh. So imagine a vast and intricate tapestry, right? And it's woven together with these stories of love and war and betrayal and wisdom. And that tapestry is the Mahabharata.
Oh, wow.
And the Gita is like this beautiful jewel that sits right in the middle of it.
Okay.
It's a dialogue that occurs right before this huge battle.
So like right before the major action happens.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like the calm before the storm.
So it's the setup, in the movie, and you're like, okay, here we go.
Exactly. And this is where we meet our two main characters, Arjuna,
Okay.
who is a skilled warrior, but he's also facing this incredible moral crisis.
Uh-huh.
And then we have Krishna, his charioteer, but who's also this divine guide.
Okay, so this is not your average charioteer.
No, not at all.
Sounds like someone you want in your corner.
Yeah, the ultimate friend to have in a crisis, right?
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the nature of their conversation? Is it kind of like, does Krishna just lecture Arjuna and tell him, this is what you got to do?
No, not at all, actually. It's a real back and forth.
Ow.
There's questioning, there's disagreement, there's even a little bit of humor in there.
Really? So it's like a lively debate?
Yeah, it is. And Rupa Pai compares it to like a debate you might see on Indian television, but with respect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's this underlying current of respect and understanding even when they're challenging each other.
That's a great point because, a lot of debates today, there's not a lot of respect.
Right. Exactly.
So what are some of the big themes? What are they really getting into in this conversation?
Well, they delve into some really big questions, duty, friendship, how to face those inner demons we all have.
Right.
And ultimately how to find contentment. And I think that's what makes it so timeless. These are themes that we all grapple with no matter where we come from or what time period we live in.
Yeah. It's amazing how a text that's, thousands of years old
I know.
can still speak to us so directly.
It really is.
And Rupa Pai talks about those aha moments, right? Like those little nuggets of wisdom that just kind of hit you.
Yeah.
So what were some of the most surprising ones for you?
Well, I think the one that stood out to me the most was the lesson on friendship. The way Krishna guides Arjuna.
Okay.
It's just this beautiful example of compassionate companionship.
Okay, so it's more than just, being there for your friend.
Yeah, it's not just about blind support, it's about really seeing your friend and challenging them when they need to be challenged.
Still holding up that mirror.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But doing it with love and respect,
Right, not just,
Not just tearing them down,
Yeah.
but helping them to see themselves more clearly.
Right. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
What about, finding that contentment? Well, what are some of the things that the Gita says about how to be at peace?
Well, the recipe for contentment in the Gita might surprise you. It's all about focusing on your efforts.
Yeah.
Putting in your best effort in each moment rather than getting fixated on the outcome.
So it's about the journey, not the destination.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, let go of that need to control the results and just find satisfaction in the process itself.
That's such a hard thing to do, though.
It is. It's a practice, but it's so freeing when you can start to do it.
Right. So what else? We've talked about friendship and contentment. What other surprising lessons did you glean from Rupa Pai's talk?
Okay, get ready for this one. The Gita even offers insights into environmentalism.
Really?
I know, right? There's this beautiful analogy of a tree with its roots reaching towards heaven, and it's this encouragement to seek nourishment from the true source.
So how does that relate to the environment?
Well, it's subtle, but it's suggesting that just like that tree draws its sustenance from the earth and the sun, We also need to connect with that fundamental source of life.
So it's about recognizing that interconnectedness.
Exactly. We're not separate from nature. We're a part of it.
We're all part of this web.
Yes. And speaking of interconnectedness, the Gita also sheds light on certain aspects of Indian culture, like the acceptance of uncertainty,
Okay.
the comfort with diverse viewpoints.
I can see that, how those themes are kind of woven into
Yeah, it's like a philosophical foundation.
the fabric of Indian society.
Exactly.
So what else? I mean, you said it's full of these aha moments. What other nuggets of wisdom did you pull out?
Well, there's even guidance on self-discovery,
Okay.
Finding a career that aligns with your true nature.
Well, not just any job
No, it's about finding that thing that really lights you up,
that you're meant to do.
Exactly. Rupa Pai calls it a timeless career aptitude test.
I love that.
And here's a fun one. She points out that there's a ton of names for Arjuna and Krishna in the Gita.
Oh, really?
So she suggests it as a baby naming resource for new parents.
That's great. I'm going to have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, write that down.
So it seems like there really is something for everyone in this text.
Absolutely.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we've talked about these big themes.
Yeah.
I want to dive into some of the key concepts that kind of underpin the Gita's teachings, and I'm really curious about karma.
Okay.
What does karma really mean in the context of this text?
Well, karma is often misunderstood.
Yeah.
People think of it as this punishment-reward system,
Right, like what goes around comes around.
Exactly. But the Gita presents it as a law of cause and effect.
Okay.
It's about understanding that every action, every thought, every intention creates this ripple effect,
And it influences.
It influences our present and our future.
So it's not so much about being judged by some outside force as it is about, we're constantly shaping our own reality.
Exactly. We're shaping our own destiny through our choices.
Right. And she emphasizes that it's the intent behind the actions.
Yes.
More than the actions themselves.
Exactly. It's not just what you do, but why you do it.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. So let's say you donate a large sum of money to charity.
Okay.
On the surface, that seems like a good deed, right?
Right.
But what if your motivation is just to get public recognition or boost your social status?
So then it's not really
Exactly. The Gita would say that the real impact of that action is determined by the intent behind it.
So we always have to be checking in with ourselves.
Yes.
And making sure that our actions are aligned with, what we really
With our values.
believe in. Yeah, that's a powerful message.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the idea of the Gita as a guide for navigating life's challenges,
Yeah.
remember you mentioned that it offers insights into choosing a career path.
Yes, it recognizes that different people have different strengths,
Right.
different inclinations.
Right.
And it encourages us to find work that aligns with our unique nature.
So finding something that really speaks to you.
Exactly. Finding that path that feels meaningful, that allows you to really use your talents and your passions.
It's like it's giving us permission to do what we love.
It
And you mentioned before that the Gita even has advice on baby names.
It does. It does. Rupa Pai points out, the abundance of names for Arjuna and Krishna.
All right.
And she kind of jokingly suggests it as a resource for new parents.
I love that little tidbit. So we've covered a lot here already. We've talked about the historical context,
Yeah.
some of those surprising lessons on friendship, contentment, even the environment.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? What else is there to explore in the Gita?
Well, the Gita is full of surprises, and I think what's so exciting is how it seamlessly weaves this ancient wisdom into a narrative that feels so relevant to our modern lives.
It's like it was written for us today.
It really does, and in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to uncover even more of those hidden gems.
I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to that.
Me too.
So stay tuned, folks, because we're just getting started.
Yes, we are. It's really fascinating how the Gita, manages to weave these timeless ideas into a story that feels both ancient and surprisingly relevant to life today.
I know, it's like they knew what we'd be dealing with thousands of years later. Rupa Pai mentions a section that almost seems like a commentary on today's, political climate.
Oh, yeah. She talks about Krishna's message to Arjuna about how whenever, the world gets out of balance, right, there's always this force that, arises to restore that equilibrium.
So it's like there's a built-in mechanism
Yeah.
that brings things back
Like a cosmic reset button.
to the middle. you know?
Exactly, yeah.
I like that.
And she connects this to trends we see not just in politics, but also in morality,
Yeah.
even in fashion.
Really?
Yeah, it's
It's
fascinating.
like a pendulum, swinging
Yeah,
back and forth,
exactly.
and it always comes back to the middle.
It does, yeah.
Okay, I like that. That's comforting, especially, these days
Right.
when things feel so out of whack.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of relevance to modern life, you mentioned that the Gita even gives advice on diet and health.
Oh, yeah, it does.
I'm really intrigued by this.
I know, and what's even more surprising is how much it aligns with, modern day nutritional advice.
Really?
Yeah, it emphasizes choosing foods that are like fresh and juicy,
Yeah.
nourishing, agreeable to your system.
So basically whole natural ingredients.
Exactly. Ditch the processed
The
stuff
processed stuff, yeah.
and go for the real deal.
Back to basics.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
And there's also this warning against extreme diets and like overly strenuous exercise.
Yeah, it's all about balance.
Balance.
Even in our pursuit of physical well-being.
Don't overdo it.
Exactly.
Take care of yourself, but don't obsess.
Yeah.
Now let's go back to karma for a second, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around this concept.
Yeah, absolutely.
People think of it as like, some kind of cosmic punishment,
Yeah.
reward system.
Right.
What's the Gita's take on it?
Well, the Gita presents karma as this like law of cause and effect.
Okay.
It's understanding that every action, every thought, every intention, it creates a ripple effect.
So we're responsible for those ripples.
We're shaping our own reality through our choices.
And the emphasis is on the intent behind the actions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just what you do, but why you do it.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say you donate a large sum of money to charity.
Okay.
Sounds like a good deed, right?
It does.
But what if your motivation is just to get recognition,
Mhm.
to boost your social status?
So it's about ego.
Yeah, it's not coming from a genuine place of giving.
It's not pure.
No.
Right.
And the Gita would say that the real impact of that action is, it's determined by the intent behind it.
So we really have to check ourselves and our motives
Absolutely.
before we act.
It's constant practice.
Now, Rupape points out that the Gita offers some pretty cool insights into finding a fulfilling career path.
Oh, yeah, it does.
What are some of the things it says about that?
Well, it recognizes that different people have different strengths.
Yeah.
Different inclinations. And it encourages individuals to find work that really aligns with their own unique nature.
So find what you're good at and what you love.
Exactly. Find that path that feels meaningful.
Right.
That allows you to use your talents and your passions.
So it's like a personality assessment for your career.
It kind of is, yeah.
I love that.
It's pretty cool.
And she also mentioned that the Gita even provides a bunch of baby names.
Oh, yeah, that's a fun little tidbit, you know.
That's a fun tidbit.
She points out that there are so many different names for Arjuna and Krishna.
Oh, yeah.
So she suggests it as a resource for new parents.
That's great. I'm going to have to write that one down.
Yeah.
So it seems like we've only just scratched the surface here.
I know, right?
There's so much depth to this text.
There's so much to uncover.
What really struck you as we were going through this?
I think one of the most remarkable things is how the Gita, after all these centuries, continues to offer these fresh perspective and guidance for, navigating the complexities of life.
And Rupapai's talk, I think, really opened my eyes to that.
Yeah, me too.
To the depth and the relevance of it.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to keep exploring.
Yeah.
And see what else I can learn from it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of the Gita. It's not just a book to be read. It's a conversation to be engaged in,
Right. It's a journey.
It's a journey of self-discovery.
So I'm curious to hear Rupapai's kind of overall takeaway.
Yeah.
What does she emphasize as the most important message?
She talks about this beautiful concept of seeing the world as it truly is.
Okay.
Which involves recognizing the interconnectedness of everything,
Seeing yourself in everyone and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It is. And I think it's so relevant today.
Yeah.
In a world that's often divided by conflict and intolerance, this message of unity and understanding is so crucial.
It's a call for empathy.
Yeah.
For breaking down barriers,
Right.
seeing the humanity in everyone. Absolutely. And to add another layer to that, she reminds us that Krishna only reveals a fraction of his infinite glory to Arjuna.
Right.
So it suggests that the Gita itself holds even more untapped wisdom than we can imagine.
It's like this never-ending well
It is, yeah.
of knowledge.
It invites us to keep exploring, keep
Like
discovering new layers of meaning.
It's a lifetime of study.
It is, yeah.
It's amazing to think that we've only just kind of scratched the surface of the Gita's wisdom.
Right. Like even after this deep dive, there's still so much more to uncover.
And Rupapai mentioned that there are like 18 different ways to interpret the Gita.
Yeah, 18 different ways. It's incredible.
It's mind-blowing. I feel like I want to go back and reread it
You should.
with fresh eyes, you know?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, you know? It's a living text. It's a conversation that continues to resonate.
It's not static.
No, it's not. And I think that's what makes this deep dive so valuable. You know, we're not just like exploring this ancient text, but we're thinking about how its wisdom can be applied.
All right, how can we actually use this
To our lives today.
in our lives? And we've
Huh.
talked about finding contentment in a world that feels chaotic,
Yeah.
navigating those difficult relationships, making career choices. What other practical applications do you think we can take away from the Gita?
Well, one that stands out for me is like the Gita's perspective on navigating, social and political change.
Okay.
Remember Krishna's message about how, like, whenever the world swings too far in one direction, there's
Yeah.
always that force that arises to bring it back to balance.
Like a cosmic pendulum.
Exactly. And I think that's so relevant for us today, when we're facing so much polarization,
Yeah.
division in the world. The Gita reminds us that change is inevitable.
Right.
And that even in the midst of all the chaos,
Yeah.
there's this natural order that ultimately prevails.
It's like it's reassuring us that it's all going to be okay.
Yeah. It's a message of hope and resilience,
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
about trusting the process, having faith that even in the midst of upheaval, a new equilibrium
A new balance.
will emerge. And that ties back to, the Gita's emphasis on focusing on our own actions,
Right.
our own intentions,
Yeah.
rather than getting caught up in all the drama.
The external noise
Exactly. Cultivating that inner peace and stability.
in the middle of the storm.
Yeah, amidst the storms of life.
Wow, this has been such an incredible journey.
It has.
I feel like we've uncovered so much wisdom
Me too.
from practical advice on friendship to career choices
Yeah.
to like these profound insights on the nature of reality, our place in the universe.
Yeah, and what's truly remarkable is that, even after all these centuries,
I know, it's crazy.
the Gita continues to offer these fresh perspectives and guidance for navigating this crazy thing we call life.
It's like a timeless guidebook.
It is, yeah.
Rupa Pai's talk has really given me a whole new appreciation for the Gita.
I'm so glad.
I'm excited to keep exploring these teachings
Yeah,
and see how they can enrich my life,
I think that's the perfect takeaway. The Gita is not just a book to be read. It's a conversation to be engaged in. A journey of self-discovery that unfolds over a lifetime.
And there's so many different ways to approach it,
Right.
each offering its own unique insights.
Yeah. What other interpretations might you discover? How can you apply this wisdom to your life today?
Yeah, that's a great question for all of us to ponder.
It is. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
We hope you've enjoyed exploring the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita
Absolutely.
and that you'll continue to delve deeper into its teachings long after this episode ends.
Until next time, happy exploring.